All right, so we're here, just first episode starting the series. I've been wanting to do it a while. Picked somebody who I'd be super comfortable with, super easy with, number one. So first off, Mike Haviland, good friend of mine. Mike, tell us what you do.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, thanks for having me. Kind of be your guinea pig, but no, it's an honor to be here with you guys. You know, obviously know you from life, from outside of work, but yeah, man. So my name is Mike Haviland, and I sell real estate here in Baton Rouge. So I am at the Keller Williams real estate brokerage right here off of Blue Bonnet. So it's Red Stick Partners. That's the name of our brokerage. And yeah, I do mainly residential real estate. I will go out into the outlying parishes if need be. I love doing real estate right here close to the 70810 zip code, just because that's where I grew up. So yeah, man.
So really stay Baton Rouge centric, and that's kind of what we want to do, is really just highlight business owners in Baton Rouge. A lot of times you see conferences and different things, and we bring in people. What I wanted to do is really highlight the business owners and the creative people that we have here in town. So I consider you one of those.
Come on, man.
With being at Red Stick, so how does that kind of work in terms of, normally in real estate, you're kind of doing your own thing. Is that kind of similar here? How does that partnership kind of work? And I guess what are the benefits of it, and kind of the not disadvantages, but how it's different from just running your own shop?
Sure, absolutely. So I am full-blown drink the Kool-Aid Keller Williams agent. So when you get licensed to be an agent anywhere, the law is that you have your license held by a broker. So it's basically a covering. Basically, they are the ones on the hook. So we enter into an agreement, a purchase agreement. It's really an agreement between Red Stick Partners and the cooperating brokerage. Now, I am the agent who is performing the duty. So they're on the hook. So really, where you place your license is of pretty great importance. Because they've either got your back or they don't. Because there's plenty of people that go out and they help people, and I don't mean that in a messy way at all. But what I'm saying is, so in our since we're talking about it, so in our the Greater Baton Rouge Real Estate GBRAR, the Greater Baton Rouge Association of Realtors, there are over 3,000 agents.
Okay.
So
wow.
There's a lot of fish in the pond.
Right.
Okay. So and yeah, you can have your license with. I've got friends that are CJ Brown agents, Berkshire Hathaway agents.
So having an agency kind of groups you and kind of filters you a little bit within that. Hey, we've got 3,000 agents.
Exactly. It can set you apart.
Right.
Good or
so
bad.
it can give you kind of a little bit of elevation with that name, but then you've got to kind of take it the next step. So how do you? I guess, how do you do that? How is that here at Bear, really we're a niche market. We try to do some things different in our market. As you just said, there's 3,000 real estate agents. How do you differentiate yourself? Why is somebody going to call Mike?
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're not, so any of my clients, they may, it may put them to rest and give them some peace that I'm a part of the larger Keller Williams brand. But honestly, at the end of the day, if I worked for anyone else, they still are trusting me, right? So I am my brand. You know what I mean? So it's very important that I do establish a brand that's my own. I can attach myself to the KW, which I do because I love it. I'm a huge fan. I teach our career nights. I'm very, very sold out and bought into the culture of Keller Williams. But for me, what I found whenever I entered this market, people talking, whenever I first started being a real estate agent, they were like, man, there's just so many of y'all, which is exactly right. But I met so many agents that were successful, and how do I put this gently, that I was just baffled by the fact that this person was successful in anything, much less, and that sounds horrible, but we've all got to find our lane. And it just surprised me that their lane was helping people with such large transactions, right? You know what I'm saying? So when I got in, I was like, there's a lot of agents out there, but I feel like there's a need for competence. and there's a need for somebody who's level-headed. So,
and we understand that. I mean, within our business, a lot of people do process safety, but may not be, we marketed ourselves as process safety specialists. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of had the same thing of saying, hey, these guys are doing very successful in this as a side product. What if someone really focused on that?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've just kind of taken some angles and said, hey, yeah, we've got a lot of real estate agents, but there's some gaps here that can differentiate a person. Sure. I think I meet those. Absolutely. Obviously, disclaimer to everybody watching, Mike is my real estate agent. And that's due to just the fact of your personality, your competency, just kind of clean-cut ability in terms of dealing with a transaction as big as a home for somebody. So in branding that and creating that, you said the Keller Williams culture. So that's a big thing that we push here is our culture. Sort of the original way I thought about it, but it's interesting hearing you say that is you're kind of your own shop, so maybe you didn't have a culture.
Sure.
But how does fitting into the Keller Williams culture, and then also do you create, I guess now a culture and a brand is kind of the same thing for you as a single entity. Mm-hmm. How important is that? Or is it more just you're lumping in with the company that you're under and your brokerage and where that comes into play, like you said, you teach and help with those sort of things.
So I think we've all been a lot of people have been a part of a business where it wasn't a cultural fit. And from like a business owner standpoint, that's difficult in one way. And then from an employee standpoint, it's also difficult. When your values don't line up with the people that you're either representing or the people that are representing you, you've got big problems. Right? You're just not going to be happy. There's not going to be a place to grow. There's going to be conflict. You get it. But Keller Williams, man, I'm telling you, has set such a high bar ever since they began, selling real estate. And it's really, they set the bar to me for the whole industry. All of real estate looks to Keller Williams as a model. Because Keller Williams, I mean, look, when I chose Keller Williams, I used to do ministry. I did a lot of things, okay? Disclaimer, I've done a lot of things. It takes a lot to keep me focused and happy at one task. But I did ministry, and then I came to Keller Williams, and it was almost, I was like, ugh. These people with their little sayings and their things. I feel like I'm in church again. Right. And I've already done the church thing. Can we just skip this and sell real estate? But the more I got involved with it, I figured out that actually it was the most important key. No matter whether we sold real estate or not, it is what makes Keller Williams Keller Williams. And it was such an easy fit for me to build my business on the foundation that they had already set. Customers, I mean, communication, integrity. I mean, these things sound like they're given, but they're not.
And so does that kind of bleed over then when you're dealing with a client? I feel like it kind of has to naturally. Yeah. I know a joke around here is like one of our guys, they start saying things that I say and sort of how that culture goes. So it's interesting to then see like really what the culture of Keller Williams is a group of contractors that's all come together. Yeah. They're all their individual brands, but to buy into kind of one thing together. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty interesting piece that it feels, like you said, like a family in an atmosphere that's maybe not set up that way on paper.
And it works for the way I approach my business because there are, like we've talked about, 3,000 plus active members, mind you, and GBRAR, and that number may have changed as of this right. video. But yeah, like that's how I want to do business. I want to do business with people I care about who believe and work the same way, care about people, put others first. I want to help them achieve their real estate goals, or really any goals for that matter. Right. And it's my honor to be able to say, look at our company, right? Like you already know me. So I'm big on just relationships, and I built my business on referrals. So if we do life together, if we hang out, if you're part of my family, if I've worked with you in 12 other places, you know me well. And I'm telling you, people call me that I've just done life with. And they're like, Mike, I saw you in real estate. Let's do business. Why do they do that? because I'm just relational. I'm relational. And when people get into anything, especially something like real estate, man, there's a lot of open-ended questions, big question marks like, how do I know this person's going to prefer me over them? How do I know this person's telling me the truth? How do I know this? This person knows what they're doing. Well, I'll answer that question is because you know that I wouldn't tell you something because of our relationship,
right?
That puts you at a loss,
So that situation normally is you already have somebody where you've kind of built that trust.
Yes.
We've talked about it, you and I, before. Heck, we're doing it right now in terms of social media.
Yeah.
And how that drives a relationship that then is maybe a referral or something somebody saw you online, love the content that you put up, that then becomes a personal relationship. Yeah. I'm kind of fascinated that a business that's really normally based on that relationship already established, do you do that often? How does that work? Absolutely. Have you seen successes and failures in that?
Yeah, without a doubt. So like I said, I've had done transactions and worked on behalf of clients from every part of my world. And yes, I've helped strangers as well, right? Who have been just total referrals or just random like connections. I've got one person I was doing an open house at a home, and they walk in, they were frustrated with their agent because they didn't serve them at a very high level. And I was just there to show them the house. They walked in the door and they were like, hey, so would you be available to help me buy a house? Because I'm done with this other person. I was like, absolutely. Let me know what I can do. And I've done 4 transactions for that client now. Now that was 4 years ago, and it became a relationship out of nothing. And I think the beauty about real estate, really in anything, I think that authenticity is just hugely underrated. In our culture, we're so saturated with celebrities and people showing you the highlight reel and looking good, taking pictures next to celebrities. Oh, look at how nice my car is. People are over that, and they want people that they know are actually flesh and blood, right, that they can relate to, right? You see what I'm saying?
And do you feel like that has kind of helped you more of in terms of the way you brand that? And I mean, we've talked about that before. Of your brand is, hey, I'm a Baton Rouge guy, I'm a hometown guy, I'm real, I'm going to do this for you. Or, rather than I'm going to throw an awesome party at your house and show off your house through the elite. Yeah. Hey, I'm actually, whatever you need anytime, I'm handling this for you, and we're going to get it knocked out.
Absolutely. I'm all about doing the schmoozing. And hey, if your house is a multi-million-dollar house, I'm going to market it to those people, because guess what? That's who's going to buy it.
Right.
And I have no problem being in that element. But just know this, like, I might not show up if we're looking at houses all day on a Sunday. I might not have a 3-piece suit on, okay? Because that's not why you hired Mike Haviland.
Right.
You hired Mike Haviland because you knew that you could trust what he says about the house, and and
you still look good anyway.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Right. You would say that because my daughter thinks that you're me sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. So we have to. Yeah, exactly.
But
so in terms of then, I guess it just seems pretty simple in terms of, hey, do I sell a house or not sell a house? Mm-hmm. But how does that work in terms of what do you define this business model of success? Because I don't know this, but I feel like you may get a lot of potential deals. Mm-hmm. So is that a percentage deal? Is that hey, I almost got this nice big house that I really been wanting? Sure. Or is it just a straight numbers game of, hey, I sold this many, I did this? That's what success and failure is.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways to build your business in real estate. Some people are highly motivated to lead generate from dusk till dawn, right? Their life is basically, you might as well work at a huge corporation where you clock in and you clock out. And it's important. Now, don't let me discount that. But for me, I'm not going to cold call a bunch of people and try to sell myself to them, okay? I want to work with people with whom I have relational equity, okay? Because let me tell you something, when a deal goes south or something happens, any agent can do well when a deal's wonderful.
Right.
Everything's great. You barely have to know what you're doing, agent, okay? That might not be popular for other agents listening,
right,
but it's true.
But yeah.
The value of the right agent is that when things go wrong, how do they help you navigate that? Okay, so and in those moments, yeah, your training is highly important. Your negotiation skills are highly important. Your ability to see through what other people are telling you and find the truth and present it to your client in a way that they can make the right informed decision. That's really where it is. And also, hey, should you look? I can't tell you how honest I am with clients. I had a client who single guy, stud, good dude, and we went and saw this house. It was like almost $400,000, and it had like 5 bedrooms, and he's single.
Right.
And he's like, I like it, write it up. And I'm like, now I can. Or, and I'm not asking how much you make because that's not my business.
Right.
But hey, man, what do you think about maybe not being house poor? What does that look like? Now, sure, I could just write it up, get a fat check, and move on with my life. But that's not what I'm interested in. Well, I'm interested in helping somebody make good decisions that they can build their life, financially on real estate.
And the idea as well is that if you're being honest with him, that he's going to respond to that and that. So the success.
He bought it. For the way he bought it.
He bought it.
He bought it.
Well, hey, he at least knew you were looking out for him.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to make you not do what you want to do. Right. There's a line. I'm like, look, I'm here to get you what you want to get. If it's possible financially, all these things, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So in terms of, I know you've talked about you're with Keller Williams, and that offers a platform for you.
Yeah.
But a lot of this is kind of doing this on your own in terms of the actual work and the actual branding and the sell.
Yeah.
How, we talk about a lot of times just busy schedules. And I know it's common for everybody to say, I'm super busy. But I know you personally, you are super busy. How do you manage that workload in terms of, your wife owns a business here in town, Sugar and Bronze, shout out. She'll be in another episode. We're going to get to talk to her, hopefully at the salon, which would be awesome. You have 3 beautiful kids. Yeah. How does all that work with all the hours and time you got to put in being one of the best real estate agents in town?
Come on, I appreciate that. I appreciate that endorsement. My mom thinks so too.
Sweet lady.
Super sweet. Super, God bless.
Awesome.
That's a great question. So I'm not the greatest at this yet.
Okay.
That is a place where I can grow.
It's good to admit.
And my wife will say amen to that. Okay. So
we'll ask her about it.
Yeah.
Talk to her.
And I think you have to prioritize. You've got to tell your day what's going to happen, or your day will tell you what's going to happen. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, right? And if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. It's as simple as that. So, and I think for my clients, what's important, and I've gotten clarity on this, is setting expectations is so important. Setting expectations whenever we do the hiring process, when I decide if you're a client that I want to work for, and when you decide if I'm an agent that you want to work for you. During that consultation, I'm going to tell you about my daughters, and I'm going to tell you, hey, when it's a no, just understand it's not because I don't want to. Right. It's because if I say yes to you, I'm going to have to say no to something else. And there are times when yes, hey, baby girl, daddy can't be here because this deal needs my attention now, today, this moment. So yeah, it's hard, but it's worth it, and it's messy, and it's fun, and it's, my wife gives me the grace to grow. So right. that's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta have good wives.
You
right?
got to have the grace to grow.
There, if my wife watches this, definitely
she's watching. Oh my God,
I get that growth all the time.
All her friends are.
So in terms of thinking about that, then how would you then give advice to somebody else who's saying, hey, I want to get into real estate, or I want to start my own business, in terms of saying this is the workload? I mean, one thing that you said in terms of telling clients that, are clients receptive to that? Is that I know in our industry, sometimes that works well. Sometimes it's like, well, this is what we're paying you to do kind of thing. Sure. And sometimes that means, well, hey, we use this client or we don't use this client. Is that a similar, I know I asked kind of a two-part question there, but just kind of following up on that, and then, okay, based on that answer, sure, what do you tell somebody that's saying, hey, I want to dip my toe in the water? How much work is this going to be?
So one of the things, one of our values, one of our mantras is that people grow into the conversations you have around them. You teach people how to treat you. So when it comes to that question you asked about what happens when a client kind of pushes back on that? Mm-hmm. Well, that's where setting expectations is important. And you also have to have boundaries. You have to have boundaries, because if you always say yes, then people will abuse you every time, and they will use your time like it means nothing, right? So, and that's hard. Very few times have I ever had to push back and say, hey, look, this is not going to happen, and here's why, okay? Most of the time, man, I make it happen for my clients. Now, as far as like talking to someone who is new and thinking about getting into the most important thing when it comes to a new agent is to get into the right room. Now, what does that mean? Your success, in my opinion, is completely attached to you sitting in the right room and hearing the right voices. Number one, you need training, okay? And then beyond training, some things are taught and other things, I believe, are caught. Some of the most important things are actually caught. So you need to be in the right room, listening to the right people that are doing business at a high level, that share your values.
Right.
Okay? So an environment that fosters growth and that wants to see you win, because let me tell you, it's not that unusual to see competition, believe it or not, in the real estate world.
Right.
Right? Right? Go figure.
Yeah.
Go figure. Yeah. And it can get ugly. That's why it's paramount for you to attach yourself with an organization or a brokerage or a team of people that are not threatened by you and want to see you win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so basically, and you've kind of fringed it towards real estate in terms of surrounding yourself, but I would echo that when I started the business, surrounding myself with people like yourself and people like Kenny Wynn at 368 and Matthew Laborde at Elephant, and I'm throwing these shout outs so that way they'll come talk to me as well and give me their insight.
Jeremy Bate.
That's right. That's
Rob
right.
Cheppendahl, do you
That's
know
right.
him?
Nope, I don't, but you can introduce me.
You.
So basically surrounding yourself with a community of people that's going to kind of get you to succeed there. I think that's interesting. It's kind of something I didn't expect to hear from real estate in terms of that Keller Williams culture and kind of what you talked about. So that I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's true. It's a rising tide lifts all ships.
Right.
And if you come from a perspective of lack, then yes, you'll be threatened every time.
Right.
When someone else does well, you think that you've been subtracted, something's been taken from you. That's not the case.
Right.
That is not the case. Literally, now call it the universe, this being spooky right now, but you cannot outgive God. You cannot, if you pour yourself out in contribution, you can't make yourself lose.
Right.
You're going to win. I believe it. I just believe that. Mindset is so huge. There's so many things that go into it. That's one of the beautiful things about the training culture at KW. I've just been exposed to just bigger thinking.
Right.
Than I had before.
So in terms of bigger thinking, something that I know you're super passionate about, we talked about in the very beginning, Baton Rouge guy.
Yeah.
I'm not native of Baton Rouge, but I've been here now for 7+ years. Love the community. As business owners and people like those guys we talked about earlier, they do a great job of pushing our community forward. Yeah. You and I have talked about it a lot here recently. We think Baton Rouge is moving in a great direction, and we want to be part of that change and pro for that change. Mm-hmm. So what are ways, because our schedules are so busy and things that we do, what are ways that you try as a business owner and for lack of a better term, an influencer in the community? I think that you have connection points. Sure. Maybe not traditionally how we think of influencer. You're a real influencer in the sense that you really influence the people in your community. How do you try to drive that, and what are you doing to try to help that?
Yeah, I think you just keep your ear to the ground and stay alert to what's happening in your community. It's so easy to get caught up in our little friend group, our little lane, our little echo chamber, and then forget about the people that are outside the door as if they don't matter, but they do. Like I said earlier, a rising tide lifts all ships. The same thing. If you're just worried about you and everyone else is going down around you, you will be affected negatively. So, whether that's, making sure you're tuned into the business report, your local news channels, and then just living life with people that people wouldn't think you'd do life with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Diversity is so important. Just for us as human beings, and to I think your opinion is really useless unless it's been tested, and you can't test an opinion if no one ever has a different opinion.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And I think that's great because so you and I talk. We talk with our friend group and that sort of thing, and we think we're all super smart people.
Sure.
But until you attend an event that the community is holding and you can actually talk with other business owners, and you can talk with business owners in St. George, at Plank Road, anywhere in this city, whatever their different concerns are and the things that they're thinking about, people in the community who are impacting the country in a global level and kind of seeing how they think about it. I think that's how you really get, like you said, test that opinion that you have. So that's great. I mean, I think it's something that as companies, we all want to be a part of something bigger than just ourselves. At first we say, hey, we want to make money and make people happy. But then after a little while, you kind of look at kind of the outside skin.
Yeah, if you want what you do to matter, okay, in the grand scheme of things, you've really got to figure out what that means. Like, how can I impact not just this little bubble, but everyone? Sometimes the impact that no one else knows about, man, is far more rewarding than the impact that you put on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? It's important. It's important to really stay connected with that.
Okay, well, thanks a ton, man. I appreciate the chat. I think it's going to be really big for people, not only people who want to start businesses, but people who already have businesses or just want to be a part of the community. I appreciate you letting me use you as the first one, and I think it was awesome.
Look, I appreciate you having me. One last shout out, shameless plug. If anybody is thinking about getting into real estate,
that's right.
And wants to know the good, bad, and the ugly,
check
give me
him
a
out.
call, please.
Check him out on real estate. If you need a house in town, check him out. And as always, if you need process safety,
that's right.
Bear Process Safety, we're bringing this to you.
Thank you for having me on.
But yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks, dude.